Hello everyone, welcome to another hobby hangout. You'll have to bear with my co-host as we've had a bit of an art evening and she's still doing her homework, which is fine. Nearly there.
Yeah.
In that time I will do some housekeeping. This is Cathy and Dave's hobby hangout. I'm Dave, this is Cathy, and today we'll be talking all about representations of Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix saga from Marvel Comics in various media. Basically, this is going to be me ranting about how they haven't done it properly yet. Spoiler alert. There will be spoilers for a very old comic, but I still say you should read it, and for various films and TV shows. But I imagine a lot of you have seen them already, if you're that interested. I will also say that our YouTube channel is full of all our back videos, where we're short of everything up to...
No, when was the last time you didn't do?
We haven't done Jonathan Creek yet.
Okay, yeah, so...
with the exception of last time, we have everything up on our YouTube channel, which I will post. Is available on our Facebook page to find. So go there if you want to watch any of our previous ramblings. Done. Excellent.
Done. Sorry, it's like doing the homework on the bus, but at least it's just like reading comics for us.
And
on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll explain.
It's not like a trade deal or anything. Sorry, it's December 2020 and we live in the UK.
Getting political right at the start there. What else? We have a slightly new camera angle. Hopefully you'll be able to hear us better. Next time we may even have a external microphone.
Just need to find it.
We need to find it, yeah.
It's been an evening.
Yes. So, how are you?
I'm okay. Yeah. I mean, it's been a bit rushed this last,
Yes, I mean, that's kind of my fault.
Well, it's various things.
We had a... the day started with us finding that the toddler had turned the fridge freezer off on Monday evening. Thankfully, we hadn't actually gone into it much, which is why we didn't notice that the toddler turned the fridge freezer off on Monday evening. For reference, he was looking for the switch for the lights that are in there and not the actual fridge freezer. So we've had to do a rapid disposal of some things that have been... so that confused things. Watch a Mantle.
There was a brief Wi-Fi disappearance.
Brief Wi-Fi, yeah. We lost internet access for about half an hour, which was very frustrating because I was about to do the weekly shop, which obviously
stuff you've just thrown away.
Partly to replace some of the stuff I'd just thrown away, and obviously this time of year, shopping, planning what you're getting, especially as we're limited to only 95 items on our Tesco's order, makes for an interesting.
We thought was fair enough.
Yeah, it just makes things more complicated than normally when I can just throw everything on and not worry. Plus, shopping for my father just adds more complications. And then I also had a Zoom meeting, and if you can hear that's the delay on. That's the. No. Yes, I had a Zoom meeting that was work adjacent that I needed to show my face for, so I only came in about 10 minutes before we turned on. So. Yeah,
and the reason I hadn't read that is because I was putting Tom to bed.
Yeah, so it's just one of those evenings. But we're here. We're ready to talk. We're ready to hobby. We are consummate professionals. The show must go on. I'm not going to burst into song, so
okay, yeah,
that would be strange.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, but it sums up how.
Too much thread here.
Yeah, but you can cut it when you finished it.
That's true.
I think that kind of sums up our evening.
Yeah, it's just, there's been a lot, but I think in general we're alright, aren't we? We're kind of mostly sorted for Christmas. We know what we're doing. It's going to be a quieter Christmas than usual, but we're not big on doing loads and loads of stuff most years anyway, so just a bit less seeing relatives and a bit more Zoom, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're just,
That's probably true for a lot of people.
True, yes. We're not alone in that, so. What are you doing? What are you sewing?
1 second. I'm sewing the hooves of a cow. Oops, probably not very well. So this is part of my 12 Days of Christmas thing, which, I mean, it's never going to be 12 for this year, but I can get to 8, maybe 9.
It will be 12 in the end.
But not this year.
Did I ever say it had to be this year?
No. So I'm just sewing some hooves that are very small onto my cow that I already did. And I have cut out a pail for milk, but I'm still figuring out how I'm doing that. And I still have not decided what decoration I'm putting on the cow yet. What are you doing?
Depends on what breed of cow it is. I believe Friesians are the ones with black patches on.
Yeah, I know it's just a white cow at the moment.
Yeah. What am I doing? What I'm doing every time. I'm doing more of Sazabi. I'm building. I have another 3 funnels to build, and then the backpack unit. So, all good, all working. So, yeah. What have you been reading, other than X-Men comic?
Other than the X-Men comic that you assigned to me, and I was quite late in completing just now. So I've been reading an anthology called "The Sea Is Ours," which is Tales of Steampunk South Asia, and it is edited by Jaymee and Joyce Chng. Joyce has published stuff with Fox Spirit, including, Joyce has published quite a lot of things. But
Fox Spirit is a very good small press.
Yeah, small press publisher that's based in the UK but has like international authors and editors and stuff.
We might be biased because we know a lot of the. But well,
they may have published a couple of things that I've written, and also we know the people that
involved. Yeah,
but yeah, they're good folks. This isn't actually Fox Spirit, but Joyce has published other stuff on Fox Spirit, including Starfang, which is sort of a space opera story about werewolves in space.
Yeah, werewolves in space. I'm kind of intrigued.
I think I've got it on my Kindle if you want to borrow it.
Kindle.
Okay, well,
I'm not. This doesn't work. It doesn't. I'll have to give it a try.
Okay, sure. What are you reading?
What am I reading? Well, I have been. It's upstairs because I'm still not. I wasn't that prepared. But then again, I wasn't going to talk about it much because it was the 3rd book in the Anthony Ryan series that I've been reading. So it's
the Dragon one.
Yeah, the Dragon Friend, Legion of Flame. It's the last book. I have finished it. It's very good. We have a satisfactory ending.
That could be tricky.
Yeah, I think that's often the you need to stick the landing on these. I mean, it's only a trilogy as well, which is a positive. You're not investing a huge amount of time in it. It's still very good though. So yeah, sticks the landing. Yeah, and all in all, I'm very pleased with the series. Can't say other than go get the first one.
Yes, it's good when we talk much about the book. I just mentioned Joyce.
Okay, you might want to.
Yeah, because if you're not going to talk much about yours.
No, so, I'm afraid it's a bit of. I have also started catching up on the latest X-Men event series, the X of Swords, which is typical X-Men big event thing. It's 22 issues. I'll see what I think of it when I get to the end.
Okay, no, okay. Yeah, I think it's just because sometimes I talk to Joyce on Twitter a bit, so I just thought I'd mention her. But yes, so this is an anthology of science fiction, fantastical stories. It's steampunky stuff set in Southeast Asia. So where it says sea, that doesn't mean that's water, it means Southeast Asia. But yeah, it's all written by authors who are from Southeast Asia. And it's quite interesting. Obviously, they're short stories, so it's just like a taste of stuff. But there's authors from various different parts of the area, and it's just quite a wide range of sort of styles and things in there. But it's good. I think one of the stories was adapted for. Sorry, there's an audio version of it, not adapted. It was narrated on. Was it podcast or Escape Pod? One of the Escape Artists podcasts. I can't remember off the top of my head. Should have double checked. So that one was familiar, but most of the stuff I haven't read before. But yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I think with anthologies, I tend to find sometimes it's a bit mixed. But I feel like these, although they had quite different styles, they're all pretty good. Whereas I had another anthology I read recently where like some of the stories I really liked, and some of them were just like much darker than I was expecting, and I was like, oh no, and I just found such a slog, I sort of stopped going through them, because for every light one there seemed to be like 3 that were just deeply unpleasant.
Oh, yeah.
These are not unpleasant. These are fine. I mean, some of them are a bit more creepy, and some of them, have stuff in there. But it was all fine. I think the problem with that other anthology was the cover made it look a lot fluffier than it was. And I read it, and I was like, this is like
just the
quite
general
dark fancy. It was just a fancy anthology. You just said it was fancy.
Yeah, but it's the British fantasy one of that year, wasn't it?
I don't know if it's
one of the British. Yeah, I wonder whether they just they just felt like they wanted to.
I'm not sure. Yeah, so there were some sort of fairly. There were a couple of things there that were kind of like not quite traditional, but sort of like more general fantasy. But reading through them, it's like they are fantastical, but a lot of them are just like real gross. Well, not great. Well, okay. There's some stuff that I'm a bit squeamish about, so some of them had that, which doesn't help. But even the ones that weren't so squeamish about, it still felt like it was on the sort of dark, bleak sort of side.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's a different anthology. This one, again, varied tones, but I think most of them have fairly positive endings. A lot of them end with the characters obviously about to do something, so it kind of like gets you intrigued in that. But yeah, I don't think they're. I've still got one more to read, but so far nothing where I've been like, oh, at the end.
I generally find my problem with short stories is if I enjoy it, I want to read more of the world, and you often know more of the world that they haven't done anything else within that setting.
I think short stories, because you don't read loads of them, do you?
No, it's not.
They can be a bit of an acquired taste, because I think at one point I only read novels, and I started reading short stories, and at first I think I had some difficulty getting into them, because it is a different way of reading stuff a bit. But once I got into it, I kind of saw how it is. And I mean, some of them, and I'd say quite a few ones in this, are sort of like, do seem to be like the start of something. So, here's the character and it sort of sets up something, you're like, oh, what's going to happen next, even though it's just the start of that. But then some of them are kind of their own thing and work very well that way also.
I think the thing is, with short stories, you can have something that's a bit different.
Yeah.
But... So and that way, they're obviously good to read, but I tend to then end up going, oh, I'd like to read more of this, and there often usually isn't, because it's just they've done it as a short story, because I don't know, it's just for some reason they don't always click for me.
No, that's right. Well, the thing with short stories, you're not invest a lot of time, but I think sometimes people can do stuff that's a little bit more out there, and you can be a bit more ideas focused.
Yeah.
Or focused on a single idea or a particular concept, because you don't have the space you have to fill with a novel.
No, that's fair enough.
So sometimes you can get, that's a really cool idea, but it'd be difficult to fill a novel with it. Or it's also a good opportunity for writers to try things out, I guess. But some stories work really well as their own small thing.
Yeah. Then again, I'm sure we've all read books that you end up going, yeah, there wasn't enough of that idea to fit out this story.
There is that. Those are the kind that are probably good to adapt into films, whereas other ones are probably better for TV.
Yes.
That's a slightly different...
That could be a topic for another day.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was quick, because we had...
Everything's in a rush.
Yeah, wood show. That's another fun one done. We need to relax.
Yes, probably.
I think it's the rush coming up to Christmas, but I think even though we know what we're doing, I think it still feels a little bit... Perhaps once we hit the weekend, I think it'll be easier with...
Well, I won't have work anymore, so that'll be nice.
I'll mostly not have work. I will have some things to do next week, but...
Although we're going to have to spend the time entertaining the little one, so...
Well, I'll be there around for most of things.
That's true.
And at least one of the days I'm definitely not around, he's neither, so...
True, yeah.
Get a day to yourself?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that yet. Okay, I'll figure it out.
Anyway.
Yes.
So our topic today is Phoenix. Not the mythological bird, but the character from Marvel Comics.
That's kind of named after the mythological bird.
Named after the mythological bird. So I might as well do a very brief introduction to Phoenix, the character. So Jean Grey. We're going to start right at the start here.
Okay.
Jean Grey, one of the original 5 X-Men and the only female X-Man. Female X-Man. That doesn't sound. at the time.
Oh, that's just what they called themselves.
Yeah, I know.
There in the comics.
The only female X-Man for, well, up until Giant Size X-Men #1, so 59 issues. And to be fair, she did get a bit of... She wasn't well written in those initial comics. She was... The girl, yes. All the guys...
There is a girl there.
They all had crushes on her. They all... she didn't really have much of a backstory. I mean, her and Sue Storm kind of fell into the same... Yeah, she was the girl. With kind of nebulous telekinetic and psychic powers. So this, she was one of the original 5 X-Men, and was in the team, well, except for a brief period when they separated up for a bit. But anyway, up to Giant Size X-Men #1, which was in... David did not check his research.
Okay, I mean, this seems like quite early. Jean Grey's in the X-Men, she's telekinetic.
Yes, but Giant Size X-Men #1 is there.
Oh, okay.
Phoenix Saga starts issue 100.
Yeah, okay.
So,
the numbers do not make any sense.
No.
I've just read this. They don't make any sense. I don't think they can count.
No, as I told you yesterday, so they started numbering 1 upwards.
Yeah.
Until they got to about 59, I believe it was. When they stopped publishing X-Men, it wasn't popular enough. So they started reprints, and they just kept the numbers going up.
It's like that president guy who was 2 different numbers of president in the US, but with like 50, I don't know, but with like 59 things.
Yes,
it's like you're selling you 100 and something things, but then it turns out it's just the same lot of stuff. Twice.
Yeah, it was reprints.
When they reprint it, why don't they just keep the original number anyway?
Because they couldn't get people to buy it otherwise. It has to look.
Well, they did
have additional backup stories in them.
So they edited a bit.
Yeah, so they had other backup stories, some more backup stories in it, but okay. It was
It just means because the thing with obviously these older kind of 70s into 80s comics is that somebody will mention something, there'll be an asterisk, and there'll be a little thing in the corner going check the last issue. So I'm like, oh, this happened in X-Men #32. And it's like this one happened in X-Men #100 and something, and then you realise that the 32 one is after 100, and you're like, what is happening? So yeah.
So anyway, so Giant Size X-Men #1 came out, and I can't remember the dates now, but we're gonna have to accept that it was in the 80s though, early 80s.
Because that's the 80s. The second lot's in the 80s.
In the 70s.
In the 70s, late 70s.
Late 70s. They introduce a whole new set of X-Men. So this is where you get Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, who lasts not very many issues.
He wasn't doing the ones right. There's Banshee.
Who was in previous X-Men stuff.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Starfire.
Okay.
None
of these people are in the Phoenix bits. Though.
No, because Starfire quit. Not Starfire.
I don't know.
Sunfire.
They weren't in it.
Sunfire quits after. Sunfire quits. Thunderbird dies. So that's it. So and then the original X-Men, with the exception of Cyclops, because he can never leave the X-Men, or quit and go do other things.
He's like Ian Beale from EastEnders.
Yes. So
that's the only job Alan Woodgett's ever had.
I
think.
So that was 94. So issue 100. In these, so the comics at the time are very wordy, as Cathy has found, but also
it takes a lot longer to read a page than you're expecting because it's like half prose.
Lots of stuff happens, so it kind of all rolls into one. It's continuing stories, which is
it's very serialised.
Interesting, when you're reading it, but makes it difficult to sum up sometimes.
Well, do you want me to? I literally just read all this. Okay.
So the X-Men are in space. They're on a space station. Reasons don't really matter. And Jean Grey is there for, again, reasons that don't really matter.
Various of them are there.
Various of them there.
They've had a big fight.
There's a big fight, and there is a solar storm coming, and they need to get off this space station. But the radiation levels are getting really high, and they realise that no one can survive. They've got this big radiation shield pod in the space shuttle, and
which didn't include the pilot.
Yeah,
it's just bad design.
It is badly designed, but basically,
it doesn't matter if the pilot gets irradiated; they're the only ones piloting us back to Earth.
Basically, no one could survive the radiation unless Jean Grey could, with her telekinesis, basically protect herself long enough to pilot it down. She nicks the knowledge of how to pilot from Dr. Astronaut Peter Corbeau, who is the most competent member of the Marvel Universe.
I've never heard of him before until I read this.
He's old. He hasn't been seen for a while, which is a shame because he's quite competent. Knocks Cyclops out because he's being an arse.
Well, he basically, Jean is saying, look, I'll take the risk. I'm the only person who can shield myself from the radiation and also
get the
knowledge of how to pilot it. Everyone else going to the radiation shielded bit. Scott tries to stop her from saving herself, but he kind of says, you little, and starts shaking her, which is not great. So she knocks him out, which is,
sensible.
Positive. Wolverine tries to stop her, and she tells him how obnoxious he is and how she's never liked him, which he seems to like way too much. Then Storm sort of asks her about it, and Jean's like, look, we're the best friends. I obviously can't deal with you questioning me. And Storm's like, no, I'll help however I can. It's like, this was the attitude to take there, sirs. But yeah.
So she pilots and these energy waves crash in. So they land in Jamaica Bay in New York with a big splash.
So when you're in an airport, they'd previously already trashed or something.
Yeah.
These people are not good for transport.
No, everyone gets out except for Jean. Jean is nowhere to be seen, and suddenly from out of the water boils, and Jean Grey comes shooting out with a giant fiery phoenix behind her. It's difficult to see, but usually it's represented with it. Saying, "The woman you know is no more. I am fire. I am life incarnate. I am Phoenix." Yes, it would be slightly further on.
Yeah, there isn't a picture of a phoenix on this.
It's
in black and white, so you can't see.
It's one of the classic pages. I think it's been shown in previous. They've done representations of it, versions of it later on, which does have the Phoenix Raptor, and certainly it does in the cartoon.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that this one it probably is fiery and watery. I mean, it's black and white, so it's hard to tell exactly. But
yes,
yeah.
So and then she collapses. And is pretty much out of it for the next few issues. So this is the start of what's known as the Phoenix Saga. To be fair, it's not really much of a saga because, as I say, Jean Grey's not really in it for. Well, it's supposed to be 8 issues, so I think she's there for episode 100.
Yeah, so she's one that obviously there's the fight on the spaceship, and then she does the thing and flies them back to Earth. Then that thing happens and she's passed out, so they kind of drag her. Scott carries her to the shore. The one thing that's weird is her costume has changed under the water. But then it turns out this is just how she lives now. And then she's basically convalescing. So there's the thing where Wolverine suddenly decides that he does like her, apparently because she told him she couldn't stand him and yelled in his face, which I think says some stuff about Wolverine. But I'm not too impressed by Wolverine in this, if I'm honest. And then what happens is while she's convalescing, Xavier says that the X-Men, besides Cyclops, is obviously staying with Jean, should go and take a relaxing holiday. So they go to the Irish castle of Banshee, and then there's some whole weird thing with leprechauns and stuff.
It does get very strange at that. So there's an entire. So
it's a whole trap and stuff.
Yeah, it's so for about 3 issues, it's nothing to do with Phoenix. In fact, it's leprechauns in Ireland.
Oh, well, then they go to Scotland, and then Magneto is there. And then they go back to New York, and then they fight some other people. So and when they go back to New York, then Jean is around and just seems to be living in New York with her friend Misty Knight, and her parents are hanging out with them and Xavier, and then things kick off a bit. But one thing that was nice about the Irish castle is that at one point, Colossus tells Wolverine to stop referring to Storm as abroad. This is only one. I've learned a whole new sexist term for women from the 70s thanks to this Wolverine bits. Anyway, and then in the next page, he calls her a dumb broad, so Colossus yeets him over a castle, which was amazing. So Colossus can stay, yes.
But anyway, so issue 105 is where we start to see how powerful Jean Grey is, with what the new Phoenix persona is, as she beats up one of a former Herald of Galactus.
It's a big flamey guy from space.
Yeah, but importantly, a Herald of Galactus, very powerful within the Marvel Universe.
And then she makes like a Stargate.
Yes, so
they stole a lot of stuff from like Star Trek.
Yeah.
in that issue.
So issues 107 and 108 is stuff involving the Shire Empire and Annette the Emcron Crystal, where she basically holds together reality and the Emcron Crystal. I'm glossing over quite a lot because it's a lot packed into two issues.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's this crystal thing in space, and some like crazy emperor guy,
Mad Emperor Ken. I mean, it's
messing
cool.
with it, and it's making reality blink. And the more it blinks, the worse things get. So then everyone's trying to sort of stop him or sort things out, and then Jean ends up going in and holding things together, and then she feels the Phoenix power come up and sort of kind of like traps it all together so that things don't stop going blink, I guess.
But so at that point, it's generally understood that the Phoenix Force, Phoenix is ridiculously powerful now. Jean Grey has some, stupid, really powerful.
And she also just changes her outfit by thinking like she thinks that her outfit changes.
Which, I know some people might enjoy that.
Scott is a bit unnerved by it. So then there's like a gap, and I don't really know what happens, and then you get to the second book.
So the stuff in between, so it's not until 130 something? 138? 136?
Oh, I just read 137, so it starts at 129 is when
129. So 129. So 129 is the start of the Dark Phoenix saga. But leading up to this, she runs into a character called Mastermind, Jason Wingard, and she starts having visions of her in the 18th century.
I've forgotten that. There's just been so much happening in this. It's very full of stuff.
Yes. Now this is a ploy by the Hellfire Club, who is they're
like very dodgy. They're like very, very rich and very dodgy.
Yes.
And all the men dress like it's the 18th century, so it's like a weird cosplay club, and all the women dress in like leathery lingerie.
Yes.
So it's like that kind of club, I guess.
It's all
and
very
they all
odd.
stand with their legs really wide apart, like they're trying to do a power stance.
Yeah.
And it's so much that's quite weird. It's like, why are you standing like that? Is it part of the club rules? I don't know.
I think it's the costumes. They just otherwise.
There wasn't a lot to the bottom of Jean's costume. There was very little.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is a ploy by the Hellfire Club to gain control of Phoenix as the most powerful mutants on the planet. Yeah,
and then they use her to get the other X-Men, don't they?
Yeah, so she's
experiment on them.
And then she basically to try and basically mind control and manipulate her into thinking that she's she wants to be friends with the Hellfire Club and
she's a member of the club
and help them and so this kind of works insofar as that she does and that the X-Men get captured, and then it goes very, very, very wrong for them. As I can't remember exactly what triggers it, but basically she goes, nope.
It's not. Well, it's not very good. So her and Scott have like a psychic rapport they keep talking about. So they can kind of like go into each other's minds quite a bit. But Mastermind had anticipated that because she just thinks everything's 18th century for some reason. Which explains her hairdo, but not her outfit. But then. So when she looks at her friends, she sees them as like 18th century people. So she thinks that they're like rebels in George Washington's army, and then she thinks Storm is like a runaway or a betraying slave, and it's like, oh, this is iffy as anything. And then Scott tries to use psychic report, and Mastermind stops him. Mastermind's thought of that, tries to stop him. But then I think the fact that Jean broke the link, but then felt how strongly breaking the link affected her, that's what undoes it. But it's not terribly
It's not
clear.
very clear. But basically she goes, well, pretty evil at that point. She's been manipulated, she knows it. She really does the number on Mastermind, and goes, you know what? I'm out of here.
And the X-Men can just fight them.
Yeah.
Normally.
And just flies off into space, opens a star.
Oh no. There's a whole bit in between.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a long time since I read it.
I read it like...
Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't arguing with you.
So was it Beast's been called? The police have been called. So the X-Men, like, race away, so the police don't catch them. And then they're, like, in Central Park. And then while they're in Central Park, and they're like, oh, God, you know, like, we've escaped from the Hellfire Club, everyone's fine, Jean stopped thinking we're in the past. Excellent. And then Wolverine looks and goes, gosh, they sent a lot of, like, you know, he sort of said they sent a lot of police after them. I think Beast's kind of running to catch up with them.
He's in the Avengers.
He was in the Avengers, but he got an alert, so he just left. So I think he'll be in trouble with the Avengers soon. And then suddenly, Jean, who'd seemed normal and had kind of, like, gone with them voluntarily before that, suddenly is like, I'm Phoenix and I'm evil, and she's pulling a scary face, and then she tries to destroy them, and then she gets more and more powerful, and then she shoots off into space.
Okay.
But it's not clear what triggered that, because the panel before it happened, Wolverine's just commenting that a lot of police have come to deal with them.
Yeah.
It's a good thing they got away.
So she shoots off into space, opens a Stargate, disappears off into space, and then promptly eats a sun. So this is one of the contentious issues of the, well, not contentious, but one of the linchpins of things in the future. So she goes, and in order to power up further, she absorbs a star.
In fairness, I feel like they deal with that in this quite a bit.
Yes, but there's also later better stuff with resurrected wild. Anyway, which I can go into later. So she just eats a star to power up, and in the process destroys a nearby planet full of broccoli people. Thus also showing how evil she is.
There were 5 billion people, which I feel like they chose because at that point that was roughly similar to the population of it.
Yes. So yes, she's eaten a planet.
No, she's eaten a star and then planet.
Yeah. And at that point, she kind of realizes what power's done to her, and she comes back to Earth and makes up with the X-Men a bit. Okay, am I missing a bit again?
No, you've added an extra bit there.
Okay.
So she comes back. She destroys the Shi'ar battle cruiser.
Oh,
they're
yes.
Like, what happens with the star? We should go investigate. And they're like, what's happening? And then she destroys them, but they're on the line to the Empire, which is now being run by Lalandra, who's kind of an ex of Professor X. They should have a club called that. Her and Maura McTaggart, I don't know who else. And then she goes back to Earth, so all everyone can see is that there's some sort of enormous power surge coming from space to Earth. And then she appears in her childhood home, where her parents and sister live. I think her parents only found out she was a mutant and a superhero, like, in the previous issue when she started fighting that, when people started attacking in her house. And, yeah, so she comes back and tries to talk to her family, but because she's so powerful, she can not only sort of hear their conscious thoughts, she can kind of see everything subconsciously, so she knows they're all a bit scared of her, and that, like, makes her angry. And so she turns a plant to Crystal and says, I could do this to you, which is not the best.
No,
at least her family, like, their words were supportive, and they were concerned about her, even if they were also a bit scared.
Terrified that she get.
Well, I don't think they knew how powerful she was at that point. And then they become all scared, and then her father, like, disowns her angrily, which, that was a bad move. So. And then she, Phoenixes, and then they just kind of have a big fight with the X-Men in her parents' garden. I think. It also says the countryside, but at another point it says, I think they kind of end up being in their garden, but it's near their house, which I think is in upstate New York, but more upstate than where the X-Men are. Yeah, so that's what happens, and then Angel flies Professor X in from New Mexico, and then they sort of deal with things. So that's what I'm making up.
Yeah, so there's a bit of making up with the X-Men.
Yeah, after she fought them again,
Yes.
quite hard.
And then...
Sort of Scott and Professor X.
And then at this point, so there's making up. There's a bit where she takes Scott off onto a rock.
No, that's way before.
Or is that?
We skipped the whole bit where they find the other mutants because I thought we were just focusing on the stuff.
I'm just mixing it all up because that happens before. That happens in the cartoon before they go off. Anyway.
Okay.
We'll come back to why I'm getting mixed up in my head in a little bit. So
the rest of it, I just read it.
The Shi'ar turn up.
They just teleport them away.
Yeah,
because everyone's calmed down. Jean, after becoming not Phoenix anymore, is like nude. So her father rather embarrassedly gives her a robe, and then her and Scott he proposes in his head, and she hears it and accepts, and they're kissing, and then suddenly everyone's teleported away, and then they go to the Shi'ar Empire.
So the Shi'ar rock up and basically go, "You've committed genocide. We cannot allow this power to be around. Surrender to us, and
they just want to destroy Jean.
Yes,
and the Phoenix.
We want to do, which obviously the X-Men objected to, and so they basically challenged the Shi'ar, challenged them to
combat.
Yeah, which
everyone has a good long think about it beforehand, and there are a lot of words as everyone thinks about it, which I don't object to but wasn't expecting.
And then there's a big fight
on the moon.
On the moon, the blue area of the moon.
Yes.
Which is covered with strange technology.
There's basically a force field atmosphere, but if you're Angel and you flap your wings on the moon, you shoot right out of it, and then he feels like an idiot. But wasn't asphyxiated thanks at all.
So, so they have a big fight with the Imperial Guard, who are much more powerful than they are. And they're basically losing. And then Jean realises that... Because she hasn't really... Let's be honest, if Jean had manifested the Phoenix, she'd wipe the floor with it. So she hasn't. She realises that the X-Men are going to lose and going to lose their lives. So she
does a very complicated suicide.
She gets into a position and basically manipulates a piece of an old weapon from this ancient race that was on the moon to shoot her.
Oh, is that what happened? Yeah. I know something like destroyed, yeah.
She dies. Bye-bye, Jean Grey.
And then Scott figures out she kind of planned it all a bit, because she had a fight with them beforehand, so that took her power down. And Professor X there saying, Scott, you have to try and kill her. And then Wolverine had previously tried to kill her when she was Phoenix before, and she'd almost asked him to, and then he hadn't quite been able to because he has feelings for her. And then, Scott can't kill her because he loves her. And then, at one point, Wolverine throws Colossus at her, but then everyone's pulling their punches because they don't want to hurt their friend Jean, because the whole reason they're fighting is to protect their friend Jean, even though some of them are a little bit iffy with the fact she caused genocide. And there's a lot of, introspection about that, which I think is a reasonable way of dealing with it, rather than, you blew something up, and not... You didn't mean it, really. Without there being consequences or even much thought about them.
Yeah. So yes, that is the end of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
We kind of very much summed it up very quickly. There is a lot in it. Imagine
I think we could have been quicker, but sure.
Yeah, there's a lot packed into these. This is 8 issues.
16 is 8, and then
just the Dark Phoenix saga alone. In a modern comic, it would have been probably 3 times that. I mean, you would...
There's a lot of words and there's a lot of stuff packed in, and they skip around quite a bit. But in fairness, you go, meanwhile, these guys, we will now set scenes to these guys. There's a lot of explaining. It's very explainy with the words, I suppose.
But, so this was one of the biggest deals in the X-Men comics, because they killed one of the original X-Men. And at this point, her coming back to life was not a trope. So at this point, she was dead.
She came back to life once when she was first Phoenix, and then they thought she was dead in Antarctica, and she died, but then it didn't actually want. So actually, it sort of is already a pattern, because there was a bit where that happened I didn't even read
thinking she was dead. There's a difference between thinking she was dead and actually being...
everyone says she died in that lake, and then
okay, but they thought she was dead. Anyway.
Yeah.
So this is one of the... So it's such a big deal in X-Men history. It's been translated to other media multiple times. Some good, mostly not.
Now, I'm going to say something I don't think you'd like, but actually, having read this, I feel like what they were trying to do in Last Stand has become more interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll come
Well,
on to...
I think we need to.
Okay. So we'll start with the films. We'll start low and we'll work our way up. So in films, we've had two representations. We've had X-Men 3: Last Stand.
Famke Janssen as Jean.
And we've had Dark Phoenix with
Sophie Turner
as Jean Grey. So I want to talk about Last Stand first.
Sure.
Why I don't like it as a representation of Phoenix Saga.
I mean, I've heard that a lot, but sure. Also, we did have a previous X-Men episode that mentioned this as well.
But I'm just, this is
just
on
quickly then.
One. We have set up in the previous X-Men film,
which is just kind of like a hinty bit. It's kind of like a hinty
but it's not really followed through. There is fire and stuff, and it's not followed through. Now, I will say, so the way in Last Stand they do Phoenix is actually as a other persona of Jean Grey, because one of the things about Jean Grey, especially in the comics, is that she's really powerful, but Professor Xavier kind of blocks that.
Yeah, that's how they stop her being Dark Phoenix before the Shi'ar.
But I mean,
is Xavier kind of puts, or was it psychic circuit breakers around her or something?
But he's done that previously because she manifested. Oh. Yeah, she manifested her psychic powers early after she basically was psychically connected to her friend as she died. So her friend Annie was hit by a car. The sort of shock of it. She ended up having a psychic link with her friend as she died, which meant her telepathy was rather overpowered for the age she was. So Professor Xavier had already put blocks in. So in Last Stand, that
makes Last Stand make even more sense then.
Well, this thing, the Last Stand uses that as the idea of where Phoenix comes from. So they don't go with because they were trying to be a bit more realistic. Which I use, obviously, tongue-in-cheek when dealing with the X-Men. So they didn't do the entire cosmic power from space thing, which the Phoenix is.
In fairness, though, to introduce cosmic level stuff, there's a lot of baggage. There's like that crystal in space. There's like the Shi'ar Empire.
I'm not saying. I mean,
you can't do all of that.
No, but I'm not saying they had to, and that's.
It was in space race like Fantastic Four.
It was an interesting way of introducing it. It was, a little bit, perhaps, again, bad representation of mental health issues. Just making it.
This was actually less like that than I was expecting.
Evil other
Split
personality.
Yeah.
It's not really, but by using this previous thing and the mental blocks, you could have had her powering up, which you saw in X2 as her powers grew. You could have had her powering up, and the reason why she was...
I mean, can I say a thing?
Yeah.
So at the end of X2, it's similar. They've just not put it in space. Like, the X-Men are in danger. Somebody has to use telekinesis to hold the water back and also push the jet up. The only person who can do that is Jean. They say... It's been a while since I watched X2, but they say don't. She says, no, I'm going to. She does it. Jean has always in that film series been a bit sad about the fact that her powers aren't as strong as she feels they should be. Like, she feels like there's something missing, which kind of almost feels like foreshadowing, although it could partly just be that she's been trained by the most powerful telepath. But she does it, she exceeds the power they thought she had, she saves everyone at the cost to herself, and then she appears to be drowned in the lake. It's just in that she's drowned in the lake for how long is it? Is it like a year? Is it some months? I'm not really sure.
Well, that's the thing.
But she's
really
gone.
know. Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's like, oh no, Jean's in the water, she's dead. And Cyclops looking around, and she just comes out and is catatonic. So, kind of the rebirth part of the comics isn't as big because they keep saying, oh, she died and was reborn. It's like, was she died or was she just drowning? So it's really short, that bit. Whereas in the films, it's kind of between films. But yeah, the fact they introduced that, Jean was a very powerful telepath and telekinetic as a child, and Professor X had to kind of block her a bit. Yeah, it's not great. I think the way they do it in the film is that as soon as she becomes more powerful, she loses all personality.
That's the thing.
Which did annoy me without even having this background. Is that Famke Janssen just basically she has a goth makeover. So she finds a goth shop and apparently just changes her outfit, and then it's oh, now she's evil. And then she's stands around with Magneto.
She has
kind of fought the X-Men and destroyed them a bit.
She just becomes a MacGuffin.
Yeah, she just becomes like a big weapon with no personality.
She has no agency. She's not doing anything for...
Well, no, she has tons of agency, because even Magneto's technically a bit scared of her. It's just that he convinces her to do it. But it's never clear... Yeah, there's no motivation. It's never clear why.
No.
And it's just like she's gone a bit evil now, so she's going to stand around looking broody until she disintegrates somebody again. But having read the comics, what I find interesting with that is that the first people she takes out are Scott Summers and then Professor X, who in the comics are the people who actually get through to her, because Scott uses the psychic rapport they have to kind of like weaken the Phoenix side of the thing, and I think wake up more Jean Grey herself. And then Professor X is able to kind of put the thing around her. So I can see from the film point of view, if you're familiar with the comics, having taken out the two people who actually managed to stop Dark Phoenix in the comics, it's a bit interesting. Although then it does turn a little bit into the Wolverine show, as the films do. And then Wolverine ends up being the one to do it. And because in the comics, there's a point where Wolverine gets through to her, and she's like, just do it, Logan. But he can't do it, because Wolverine sadly has feelings for Jean, but is also quite rubbish, that sort of thing.
I'll just go with quite rubbish, but okay.
Well, yeah. I don't like this version of Wolverine. And then... So in the comic, he can't quite end it, even though she actually kind of... Well, what he's thinking to himself is, this is Dark Phoenix, not Jean. She's taken Jean away, I will get her. But as soon as Jean goes, yes, Logan, do it, he realises it is Jean, and he can't. And therefore doesn't end her, which is sort of what happens in X3. So yeah, and that's why then, when they face her again, he doesn't hesitate so much and just chucks Colossus at her. Which they can do because they're on the moon. But yes.
It's usually the other way around.
Yeah. So I felt it was interesting that they kind of obviously used elements from the comics. But yeah, the whole point with the comics is that it's like Jean is a lovely young woman who loves her friends and, works for good. And then Dark Phoenix isn't that. And there's this whole thing between like death and hate and love. And love actually comes up quite a lot, but I don't think that films in the noughties were really keen on examining that sort of thing.
No, and I mean, it obviously didn't help that James Masters was wanting to go be in the Superman film rather.
Oh yeah, of course, the Superman film. That's the reason it all got a bit confused.
Rather than being in X, so they had to lose Cyclops, and it's really a lot of
interesting, but yeah.
A lot of the dynamic is it's Cyclops Jean Grey dynamic,
yeah.
And once you've lost, Cyclops, it just is not. It just.
I think the main thing that annoyed me, I can see more about what they were doing and how it is actually interesting if you know the comics and the way they've done it, even if they had to because of castings and stuff.
I think it's interesting,
but yeah, I feel
did it badly.
Well, yeah, I think the main problem is how they treat Jean. She just stands and broods and is like, yeah, as you say, she's a guffin, she's a big weapon for Magneto, but Magneto doesn't control her, but then it's not clear what she herself as a human, as a person with will wants.
Yeah, what does she want? Why does she want to do these things? It's like, there's nothing there to... She just wanders around.
Like, she's gone a bit crazy, and now she's, like, destroying things, and then she sort of felt a bit bad about being crazy, maybe, so then she let somebody kill her. It's not great, but I can see more interesting layers to it and how it was done before that.
Yes, but I mean, there's interesting that and there still being a bad film with too many plot lines and...
It's just focused on the Phoenix bit, that's what
yes.
you wanted. Okay,
but still bad.
The next film.
Okay, so anyway, so that's personally one of my less enjoyed versions. The next one is obviously called Dark Phoenix, and there was a bit more hope for this. This one didn't quite embrace the spaciness, but certainly we had.
I can't remember that one very well, even though we watched it most recently. And it was a little bit, but I only watched it once. I think I was tired.
So they do go into space to save a space shuttle. So this is set in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
So they go into space and save a space shuttle. There's an oncoming cosmic storm. And Jean does save the astronauts, sacrificing herself to do so. And you get nominally some sort of Phoenixy thing. I mean, they don't crash; they come back to Earth fine.
Yeah, because she saved them.
And then you do find that she's got these extra powers. But one problem I've got with them, foreshadowing in Apocalypse wasn't followed through with.
Oh, I barely remember Apocalypse. It was very
So
confusing.
in the previous
Like a
film,
waste
Apocalypse,
guys,
yeah, it's not a good one. They show Jean Grey again, showing how powerful she can be, facing off against Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen, and she basically walks out onto air and manifests a Phoenix Raptor. She's got it behind her. You know, it's about the only good thing in that film is the visual of her standing there going with the Phoenix Raptor. I'm a simple man with simple needs at this point.
It seems to be mostly about the visuals at this point.
Yeah.
So these films not like these funny books.
But so they've already introduced that as an idea that for whatever reason that she does this.
That actually kind of makes less sense almost, doesn't it? Because like she hadn't been hit by the cosmic storm then.
No.
But I feel like if Star Wars has taught us anything, it's that people can come up with a thing in one film and then it gets the next film and they're like, we're just going to do a different thing now. But
again, if they'd gone down the she's becoming more powerful because of, you know, blocks to her abilities route, you know, just shelve a lot of the...
I don't know if that's it, because I had no idea that was the case in this. It's just like Jean got hit by a storm and then had Phoenix in her, and then Phoenix went bad. And in fairness, in the comics, I don't understand why she went bad. No. That was unclear.
My point is they
sort of the same issue as X3.
They don't have to do the space stuff. I like the space stuff. I think it's cool, but you don't have to, and especially when they'd introduced her, you know, manifesting this, you know, what everyone knew was a Phoenix Raptor.
Okay, I feel like we should also leave Apocalypse out of it. A lot of things went not great in that.
So anyway, so she comes back to Earth and she's more powerful than she was before, and she starts disintegrating things. Which again,
what's the obsession with disintegration? There's not really any of that in this. She just changes outfit a lot and then has a lot of weird visions of being in the past, which is admittedly part of a whole separate plotline.
But, you know, I just don't, you know, they seem to like representing the Phoenix power in film as this ability to sort of disintegrate things.
It just probably looks cool in FX.
But big fiery Phoenix Raptor. I know I'm coming back to the visuals again, but...
When was that useful? But she only does it when she's being, like, kind of bad in this?
Okay, we'll go back. Well,
she flies through space and does stuff, but then it gets all cosmic and spacey.
But she uses it more, because remember, you didn't read the issues in between where she's...
Oh, okay, no, admittedly I didn't.
So she has amazing power, amazing level of power, and, you know, the Phoenix Raptor is kind of her calling card. And yes, they, you know, so introducing it in one film and then never showing it again, kind of, you know.
I mean, it's happened to you twice now, and you're clearly very bitter about it.
Yes, I am. I'm very bitter about it. So again, we end up with a. She's got. I mean, at least she's able. She seems to actually have to. You know, she's not just a MacGuffin in this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she goes evil and then has no the more powerful she gets, the less actual character she has.
No, she doesn't necessarily become evil. She's just
no, which was kind of the problem with X3. It's like, well, Jean's evil now. Look, she's wearing blacker, more revealing clothes.
She gets manipulated She gets manipulated by an alien to try that wants the Phoenix power for themselves.
With the alien.
Yeah, and it's only because obviously, you know.
Well, her being manipulated is more like the comic, isn't it?
Yeah, it feeds into that, and she's, you know, at the time when she views her friends as being against her because they're obviously being cautious because they don't understand the power that she's got.
That's again like the comics. Like Scott and Storm have like conversations and they have to go really far. Oh no, Scott has a whole conversation with Angel, which is why they end up on that rock, because he says to Angel, "Can we talk somewhere private?" So Angel just flies them to the middle of the desert.
Yeah. So
and then Jean just turns up and Scott's really freaked out by it. But I think Scott had seen Jean getting more and more powerful and was a bit concerned by it, which partly reads a bit like him not liking that she's changing and getting more powerful. But then again, I think if somebody was just randomly changing her own clothes and also other people's clothes for them without necessarily asking them, as far as I can tell, it would be a bit... You'd be like, okay, that's a thing.
So they've got elements in there that are good and interesting.
I think there's a point where she like destroys a car
Yeah.
And Scott's like, that seems like an overreaction. And she's like, I'm just doing what comes naturally. It's like, what, destroying a car and badly injuring people.
Yeah.
And she's like, she takes over someone's mind and just completely puppets him. And Scott's like, this. So it is a legitimate concern. It's like, wow, she's doing a lot of
and
sketchy stuff really powerfully.
She does kill someone, admittedly accidentally, but obviously that.
So that's in the comic. So in the film.
In the film, she does.
Oh yeah.
She kills.
I've forgotten so much of that film. Yeah. I think I was half asleep from watching.
Yeah, well, missing much.
Okay.
And so they've got elements there.
Yeah, it did seem,
but
I guess a bit more like that.
They never
I think a train or a bus at one point.
Yeah, there's just sections of it that just go.
I don't know how that ends. How did it end?
She goes flying into space.
Oh, okay. Right. That's probably why I don't remember.
No, it's not. So there's elements of it that are good, that are linking in with the comics, but again, it just kind of falls short. They don't embrace the Phoenix. What do you think of when you see Phoenix? You see fire, bird. You get none of that. And that's one of the very key things. I don't know, I keep going on about it, but it's a very simple thing.
Okay, yeah,
it's
you got burned into your brain.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go on to the next thing?
Well, the next one is the cartoon.
I vaguely remember that.
So
but it was definitely a lot more like the comics.
The 92 cartoon.
Like, the Shi'ar Empire
was
that was only 12 years after the comic, because the comic was in.
So the comic, the cartoon, the 92 cartoon, or might be 93 by the time they did these episodes. They were picking storylines from the comics and adapting them, which obviously doing it animated wise, you could do a lot more of the fantastical stuff because you don't have to worry about budget. And that admittedly they didn't worry about budget anyway because they had none, especially in the later episodes.
Well, again, it's drawing. Yeah. It's all drawing.
so they did use a lot more of the original plot. So you did have the Emcon Crystal, the Shi'ar, Mad Emperor to Ken. You did the whole Hellfire Club bit.
Did they? Oh.
Yeah, they did the whole thing.
Sure.
And it was over quite a number of episodes.
So it was like this, but with colours and moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was really good, and most likely because that's the introduction I had to the Phoenix Saga before I even read the.
That's where the bird got burned into.
Yes, because you have the classic, the page that the classic page represented by she bursts out of the lake. And you have a phoenix raptor behind her.
It's not there. We just looked.
But in the cartoon, it was.
Okay, fine. It was in the cartoon.
And it's just this iconic image, and we never get it in film ever. I'm a little. So.
It's just X-Men therapy for you again, isn't it? How do you keep dragging me into this? We're not doing any more X-Men therapy.
Oh.
How much more can there be?
You'd be surprised.
I think I'm happy to remain in ignorance.
I'm
going to find a picture of the bird.
But it's that's when she's pretty evil there.
Yeah, that's when she turns into Dark Phoenix. Again, there isn't actually a bird in this bit. Also, it's not clear. Okay, that's just on her outfit. Was that not there before? It's hard to say.
But again, no outfits with phoenixes
on. Well, that's because in the films the outfits aren't quite. Well, besides I guess Spider-Man, the outfits aren't quite as ridiculous as in the comic books. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, she's in the spaceship, not spaceship, their jet, and everyone's like, right, okay, we're going to get away. We've just had this whole thing, and then she's like, oh, Scott, your mind's an open book, and I know your feelings, your thoughts, and what you're trying to do, but it's too late, my darling, for me, for us, for everything. And then it's a bit like. But what just happened? So I don't know if it's that the mental blocks kind of got worn down, but they're still breaking. Yeah. It doesn't seem completely clear. Again, it does seem a bit like all the mental blocks are gone, so now she's just evil, which is sort of like X3. Yes. Although there is a lot more about her as a person, and also there's a lot of stuff about... Look, here she's wearing the same outfit, but she's got a creepy expression, so that's how you can tell she's evil, I guess.
It's...
then she starts fighting her friends. There you go.
That's the Phoenix Raptor.
There's the bird.
There's the birdie.
The all-important bird.
And I mean, I think there is a lot in those. The two sagas, so to speak. There is a lot packed in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think particularly very much we didn't even do all the bits with the second one because there's loads of there's the new X-Men stuff, but all the new mutants. But it's interesting, as you say, it's quite dense, particularly the last few, because so when they get taken away and it's like, well, the Phoenix destroyed the star and destroyed the planet and basically genocided the entire race of people and also destroyed some of our battle cruisers. Clearly, this is a force too dangerous to be in existence. We're going to deal with it, and then Professor X is there because he knows these aliens because his ex is now the empress of this alien race. He says, "Oh, I call for this particular trial by combat, presumably," and then they argue that they'll start the next day, so everyone's got a bit of time to prepare. And then they get treated really nicely. There are masseuses, there are people giving them clothes and stuff. They get to train. They're all washing. You can kind of see everyone washing. It's like, oh, this is actually surprisingly equal gender-wise. But everyone is sort of thinking through, and some of them are a bit like, well, we love Jean, she's our friend, and we feel strongly about her, but it sounds like she did actually commit a genocide, and we're not here for that. And Nightcrawler's thinking about the fact that he knows people that survived concentration camps from when he was in the circus, and but Beast is there going, well, yes, Jean did something awful, but the rule of law is the rule of law. Law must be upheld. But he gives they must prove that what they want to do is the right thing to do in court. And I'm like, well, it's not a court. It's a fight on the moon. But Beast, they're going, the Empress using authoritarian power is as bad as genocide. I'm like, well, perhaps not quite. But I think Beast is kind of going with the argument or his thoughts. There's just like thought bubbles everywhere of people having whole essays of thinking. That using authoritarian power isn't right either. That even evil people and criminals deserve courts and lawyers and fair process, although again the process is fighting in this case. But yeah, so there's kind of interesting arguments of it. Colossus thinking about how he's never killed anyone and he wouldn't want to, and Scott's there thinking, look, this is the woman I love, I'll fight to protect her, but I'm also a leader and I completely understand what the Empress is doing. So it's quite interesting. I don't know if it's like a 70s and 80s thing, so it just seemed a lot more thinky. But then Star Trek was very thinky as well, wasn't it? Yeah. To an extent. So there's just a lot more. Whereas now everything's a bit like, right, we're going to have a fight, and then we're going to show how people feel by a brief scene where they have an expression, I guess, and then we'll go into fighting again. Whereas this is a lot more like, actually, we're thinking things through, and it is very heavy on the thought bubbles all the way through. But it does kind of the interiority of the characters is more important, and then the fact that they love Jean, and the fact that Jean loves them, and the fact that Jean is herself a good person, but the Dark Phoenix is this all-consuming force of hunger, is kind of the conflict, and it becomes a lot more about people than just, here's a powerful lady who went crazy and destroyed some stuff.
I think the what you'd have got if you did it in a modern way is, because it's the last two issues of the...
Yes, it took ages.
But
there was a lot happening that would have been
6 issues.
Oh
the entire issue where
they would have explained the aliens a bit more. The aliens are here now.
The entire point at which they're sort of doing their thinky bits, that would have been a whole issue.
Yeah.
That would have
and they wouldn't put that in a film.
No, and I think
down a bit in the film.
So I think the problem that has been is we've had 3 representations of these trying to adapt it, and they've all fell short somewhere. The cartoon had the visuals, but kind of lacked in the substance a bit.
Okay, I don't remember that.
You did. I mean, it was more than just. It was a good about 6 episodes they did it in, but it didn't. I mean, it was a Saturday morning cartoon.
I mean, that sounds quite serialised for those.
Yeah.
There wasn't so much serialisation, I think, in TV stuff. Then.
But you did get a bit of the introspection, but then again, she didn't genocide a planet for a start.
Everything seems to have missed that out besides the comics.
She ate a star, and the Shi'ar didn't like it because she was too powerful, but she didn't actually genocide a planet. So she actually was able to live. At the
Maybe
end of
they
that.
don't put genocide in Saturday morning cartoons.
Fair enough. And then the films used interestingly picked aspects of the storylines to use.
They took out the cosmic stuff, which is completely understandable because that introduces a whole new confusing thing. Oh yeah,
Dark
Phoenix had something in it.
Yeah, they did. But so they picked and choose.
Oh yeah, they took us to that house, didn't they? And, yes. Okay.
But again, all fell short on either not, in my opinion, and I think a lot of other people's opinion, not giving us the not displaying it visually as well as I.
So can I ask, the film versions that you don't like, if they just had done the big fiery bird, would you have been happy? Would you have been like, oh no, it was fine?
I'd be happier, but no, I think the films were full. X3 simply was just a mess of a film.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit messy, that, and it had various things in other parts.
She was a MacGuffin, you know.
Yeah,
the other plot lines were. It was basically 3 plot lines in one. Nothing had room to breathe. Nothing. It was just all, you know. So they didn't really do justice to anything that they were doing there. Dark Phoenix. So
obviously the focus was on that more.
Yeah, it was a film just about, but I think there was some clumsy storytelling.
It felt less ensemble, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because like the whole thing with this is well, I say it's ensemble. It's like kind of mostly Scott and Jean, but then a lot of the other characters have their own bits, so it's a lot more ensemble. But I think that's how the comic.
But it's
works.
also
because they tie people's things in. It's like you have Banshee's family issues in his castle and the leprechauns. And then you have like, oh, we're going to go find some new mutants who've just come into their powers. There's bits about them and there's bits about what other people doing. But then also because you have a lot of people's thought bubbles all the time, then you kind of get a lot more characterization in it.
But you know, one of the key of Dark Phoenix is you've got all the X-Men fighting to help save Jean. You don't really get that.
Or stop her.
Yeah.
Stop her, and then failing that, and then save her.
Yes, but you've got the big fight with the and you don't get that in Dark Phoenix. You get a load of set pieces where they're fighting aliens, but it's not really the team fighting together to help protect one of their own. It's just.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe the reason I don't remember it wasn't a lot about the relationships between the team, because they were only there a little bit in Apocalypse, weren't they? And then kind of I can't remember what Nightcrawler is. I have quite a soft spot for Nightcrawler. I don't remember what he does in that film.
It's just, you know, so they've picked elements, but no, if they'd have put the Phoenix Raptors and the fire stuff in, they're still flawed in the storytelling. Mm-hmm. It just would have looked better.
Okay, sure. Are these all the things you wish to say?
I'm sure I've got more to say.
Well, I could probably say a bit more.
Go on then, you say.
Well,
because I've talked a lot.
Yeah, I think we knew that was happening. No, I mean, it's interesting reading the comics, having seen the other stuff, but apparently not remembering a lot of it. Besides X3, but I did see that twice, quite close together due to situation. But yeah, I mean, I can see why it's different, but I can see more now why certain things were chosen, or why some things seem to be an interesting choice, even if it in the background was casting stuff. But yeah, X3 did the thing that X-Men does of making it has to be about Wolverine now. It's like, must it? All right.
Well, it's where it really wasn't about Wolverine in the originals. It was about Scott and Jean.
Wolverine was around, also there.
But
and he also seemed to have feelings for Jean, but it wasn't really clear. There's one bit where he's thinking stuff, I know Jean better than anyone. It's like, because you keep calling her Jeannie, and she specifically asked you not to do that. So, that is one thing, though. Everyone is really respectful of everyone's names, because everyone has, like, their person name and then their mutant superhero name. And people kind of, like, they kind of take the piss of each other, and they call each other, like, rude nicknames, particularly Wolverine. But everyone makes fun of Wolverine about his height. But then if there's a name where someone's like, this is the name I use, they just use that. Even if they've only just met somebody. Like, they started calling her Phoenix, when as far as I could tell, she'd just come out of a lake, said it once, and gone unconscious. And they're like, oh, hey, Phoenix. And it's like...
Well, that's how she was just to be identified? Great.
Yeah.
We'll be able to identify you now, Phoenix.
But yeah, I think because you just get a lot more character stuff, which is difficult to do in film, because...
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a written and visual medium, but God, is it more of a written... medium than current comics that I'm used to. There's so much more words, and then there's like thought bubbles that phase into speech bubbles. It's like, and it's just what everyone's thinking is there all the time. So you yourself are kind of like a telepath as the reader. Although I do like the bit where like Professor X turned off and told Scott off for not teaching everyone the way that he would have done it. And Scott was there going, but how do I get through to him? And I'm like, he's the most powerful telepath in the world, Scott. Just think it really, really loud. But yeah, there's...
Professor Xavier is a jerk.
How is he so bad with people when he can read people's minds? He doesn't seem to know why anyone's doing anything. It's like, you can read minds, sir. What? But yeah, he's not great. Although he does feel bad about the whole Phoenix thing. Now you've mentioned the backstory, I see a little bit more why.
Yeah.
But there is a lot more I guess there's a lot more teams, there's a lot more character stuff, because it is kind of... Whereas none of the others are a written medium, whereas this is writing and pictures, so you have that. So I can see how it's difficult to adapt.
I mean, I'm not... Yeah, I mean, it's going to be... It will always be difficult to adapt, and the next time they try and do it, they'll most likely run into the same problems, but I think you just need to do it over multiple whatevers. You can't do it as one...
Like as a TV show, or like foreshadowing more in a film
seed
series.
It, like the MCU of, seeding Thanos
They
early.
are good at seeding crap. Though,
so seeding it early and working it through. You could manage 3 X-Men films, where the last one could be,
Dark Phoenix. One of the other ones was Phoenix.
You'd have Phoenix introduced at some point in the middle film, and it's doable. You just need to work on it, and they just haven't.
They're not making any more X-Men films.
Not at the moment. No, it's not. There's no X-Men slated. No X-Men.
Is it all owned by Disney now?
Yes.
Everything. Disney owns almost everything.
Except
anything on Netflix.
Spider-Man. They don't own Spider-Man, so
that's still Sony, but they're kind of working together.
They're working, yeah. But yes, I mean, legacy-wise, I mean, Phoenix keeps coming back, and like a Phoenix, yeah. Jean Grey. Now, obviously, I'm going to a bit of X-Men trivia in history. I'll try not to be too long. So, Jean Grey, as a Phoenix absorbing the star, never was supposed to destroy. Well, it was supposed to destroy a planet, but it was supposed to be unpopulated. The artist, because of the way they did the comics at the time, just drew the people on there. He wasn't instructed not to, so he did. So when it came back for putting the words in, they had to work with the fact that she'd then just eaten a planet with people on it.
They shaped the star and the planet exploded. They described it in quite a lot of detail.
The point is, she wasn't supposed to genocide a planet. It wasn't in the plan.
Well, they wrote quite well about it.
So they had to work with that. So that's where... So the Shi'ar was always going to turn up. But the problem was you had a character who'd then committed genocide, so they had to get rid of her. Which is why she ended up killing herself, or having herself been killed.
Yeah, it was kind of like a very complicated suicide.
Originally, there was going to be some... Basically, the Shi'ar were going to extract the Phoenix Force from her in some horrible way, and she was basically going to retire. So, fast forward many years, and they decide that they want the original 5 X-Men back together, a team, because they weren't in the comics at the time. Obviously, the problem being Jean Grey being dead. So
is that a problem?
Well, at the time it was. Because,
okay.
Again, you're thinking backwards. At the time, you didn't have the revolving door of death.
Okay, sure.
It's all Jean Grey's fault.
Ah, okay.
I mean, Professor Xavier has faked his own death a numerous number of times, but bringing back a major character in this way is one of
this was like the precedent.
One of the point you can point the finger. This is one of the reasons why it became such an issue. Mm-hmm. So one of the original plans that the writer at the time wanted to do was actually to introduce Sarah Grey, Jean Grey's sister.
Oh yeah, she was briefly in it before they had a fight in their garden.
She'd appeared scattershot across up until then, and they were introduced as the sort of Jean Grey character.
She had children, and Jean could feel that she was subconsciously scared that her children might end up being mutants also.
Yes, there was going to be an interesting storyline.
Really angry.
Instead, I'm bad with people authors, writers' names, but they came up with a plan. They could not bring Jean Grey back as she was because she committed genocide. So they couldn't just bring her back. They had to basically say this actual person wasn't Jean Grey, and so this is where finding that actually the Jean Grey from Phoenix Saga to the end of Dark Phoenix Saga was actually a Phoenix Force clone of Jean Grey.
I thought the other person was a clone, Madeline or something.
Well, Madeline Pryor is a whole... I'm not going into Madeline Pryor.
No, that's fine.
Madeline Pryor is a whole different issue.
Okay.
Madeline Pryor is an actual clone.
Yes.
The Phoenix in this, the bits who died on the moon was the Phoenix Force who cloned Jean Grey and was basically being Jean Grey.
Okay.
Jean
That
Grey
kind of takes the sting out of this then, doesn't
Jean
it?
Grey herself was in a pod at the bottom of Jamaica Bay.
This is, weirdly, like a thing in the Trojan War myth cycle. It's like Helen. They're a bit like Helen did all this awful, like ran off and caused us a 10-year war. And if she just walked out the gates, it would have been sorted, and all these people wouldn't have died. And then people were like, no, that wasn't really Helen. That was like an eidolon. Helen was sent away. Helen was actually in Egypt the entire time because the gods or something.
Precedent.
Well, it just shows you how these confusing stories get.
But so they had to. So basically, that's how they did it. They basically said, well, she wasn't that person. Jean Grey was always at the bottom of the lake all the time. And actually, we can bring her back and wake her up.
The gods just stashed Helen in Egypt.
And she can be in the X-Men now, and it's fine because the one that's there didn't destroy a planet. It was very, that was very contentious at the time. I mean, the fact that later on she absorbed the memories of Phoenix and Madeline Pryor, she basically got the Phoenix Force back. I mean, it's a moot point really after that.
It's very complicated.
And yeah, it's X-Men. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the Phoenix comes and goes. It's gone for a while now. They've made up. Phoenix is not going to bother her. The Phoenix Force isn't going to bother Jean Grey too much. But I mean, there's a whole lot. It's integrated quite a lot with the Grey Summers family.
Okay, sure. Is that?
I better end it there because I could start.
Longer than I intended.
Because I could start going into the entire Rachel Summers Phoenix thing.
I think we can finish it.
Let us know if you'd like to hear me talk more about X-Men.
Just find them yourselves.
and I will quite happily regale you with whatever information you'd like to know about X-Men. Given that Mal's the only one that might be watching at this point. He might be backing away rapidly, going, no, it's fine. I don't need it.
Sure. Okay. Well, I
don't know. We could have Mal on. We could talk Batman. He knows Batman.
Okay.
I could talk X-Men.
How's that going to work? He's not allowed in that. Like people can't come in the house.
Oh, it's fine. We can do it technology wise.
Okay.
But we'd have a Mal talking Batman. I can talk X-Men, and you can look confused.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Oh, what do you want to bring? You can bring a Greek.
I was going to say, yeah.
Greek tragedy.
But you see that's like loads of different myths that all got like syncretized over centuries. This is like just decades of people who had a lot more say in how this went because of publishing.
True.
So I feel like the various ancient civilizations that contributed to mythology, it's a little more understandable that things got messy. There were oral traditions that got turned into writing. This was always writing. This
is always someone's fault. Anyway, yes, we'll wrap it up there. Sure. Did you manage to sew your feet on? Hooves on?
Yes, just did that a little bit ago.
Excellent. Yeah. I managed to make the backpacks for the funnels, so I can continue that. So.
Right,
join us
if you listened this far.
Yeah, if you've managed to get through to this far, thank you very much. Join us next week, where we'll be having our Christmas spectacular.
Was it next week or was it in between?
No, it was next week. I thought.
Oh, yes. Okay, sure. Yes, 23rd of December.
23rd of December.
So it'll be Christmassy.
For a Christmas spectacular.
Which means you probably need to get on YouTube reasonably quickly.
Yeah, otherwise it'll look a bit dated. Okay, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Where we'll be talking Christmas stuff that we enjoy.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, thank you very much, and we'll see you all again.
Stay safe.
Bye bye.